Time to drop the really big bomb. The real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. And then he writes, mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. Rob, I've missed you. How are you doing?
It's a loaded question. As you can see, I did not hang up the shrink space brain today. So when we last spoke, I think I was telling you about some of the injuries that have been plaguing me as I turned 40. I got a sleep apnea, got a shitty heart, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
I really downplayed and really didn't mention my back. So I have stenosis, which is a narrowing of the spinal column. Maybe mention it a little bit. Well, funnily enough, about 3 days after we recorded that last episode, I was I was overdoing it. Classic Rob. I bent over to put a leash on my dog, and my back went out. I tumbled over. In fact, I told my wife, who was not there at the time, I was like, "Do we have a Nest camera? Do we? I don't know. Like, do we pay to be able to see the camera? Like, do we store?" And she said no. And I said, it would have been a funny video to watch because I'm out there trying to hook my dog up. I get up, and then I just like tumble over, and like my dog starts to like walk away in a leash, and I'm like trying to crawl to get him.
So you weren't even lifting anything. You just bent over.
Just bent over, twisted it a certain way, and something ridiculous happened. Sharp pain down my leg, around my back, and down my leg. It was crazy. So you ask how I'm doing. Well, just add it to the list of how my body is really reacting poorly to turning 40.
Yeah,
It doesn't like it. It
and
doesn't
I
like it.
can't tell this. I think I've already said this to you, but I can't tell if it's you or just like if it happened to me, would I've just gotten up and just kept walking and been like, "Oh, my back had a little twinge," or do you know what I mean? Like, do you go to the ER with the wind blows, or is
Yeah.
this a serious? What does the doctor say when he looks at you?
I mean, I can appreciate why you would think that, and also go fuck yourself. People who know me well would say that I am not quick to go to the doctor, ask for help, all those types of things. I have been to the ER 3 times this year. I've been to the ER in my life 5 times. So it's been a year.
Oh, wow.
It's been a year.
That's
So yeah,
fun.
I mean, I can't wait to see what 41 holds
Yeah.
if I'm still here.
I've heard yeah, if you're still here, I've heard as you get older, it gets better. Your body, things start working.
Yeah. I
And
think
I'm sure it'll be no problem.
as we record, some shit has gone down today with Trump and Elon Musk.
So I'm at the gym, okay, and our mutual friend, writes me and said, she said, hold on, she said, I've got so many texts I can't find where the stupid text that she sorry, that was bad. It was really bad pod.
Oh, she said, if I keep saying it, then I'm going to know what she said.
Oh my God, I can't.
Good preparation as always, Dave.
Yeah. She said, this is so not worth that ramp up. All she said was, are you watching the Elon Musk crash out? And I said, I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about. I knew that he was not happy with Trump's latest bill.
Yeah, with the bill, that big, beautiful bill.
Yes, the big, beautiful bill. And again, as always, when we talk about politics, we are not weighing in on right or wrong, right or left. We're just talking about it. These are
Right.
characters, okay? But this is a spectacular show to watch right now.
Even as someone who doesn't like to watch shows like this, I am enthralled.
Yes. So Musk was slated to leave the government. He's left the government. So Musk has had a dramatic loss in power. And you could argue, like, was he intending to leave or not? But he was supposed to. He says he was supposed to leave. It was planned. So he leaves, loses power. and then
Leaving Doge.
leaving Doge, and Trump puts through this bill which is going to cost a lot of money. So Musk feels like a lot of the work that he's done is being that he has done is being undone right now.
Yes.
So, like most mature adults do, he went to Twitter to talk about it. So I'm going to share what Trump. I'm just going to walk through some key tweets here, and we're going to show some tweets from both Musk and from Trump. Does that sound good?
Yes, and I feel like I'm really curious, like in a day or two, especially with these two, with Trump and Musk, who really enjoy their their tweeting and getting all their thoughts as they have them, right?
Hmm.
Having any sort of break on their reaction to things is not a strong suit of either of them. I mean, you and I are talking about this. By the time this comes out in a couple of days, I think it's
Yeah.
going to be even funnier to see what
Y-
the hell actually came from all of
Yes, we are going to continue to escalate.
it. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
So if you're watching this, you can see it. I'm just going to read it to you. So Musk posts, "Time to drop the really big bomb. The real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT." And then he writes, "Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out."
But I mean, even right there, right? Like, so this has nothing to do
Nothing to do.
with the bill, with politics. Well, I mean, maybe a little bit with politics, but nothing to do with legislation that the Republicans came up with and that Donald Trump appears to support.
Yes,
So
it's
it
a middle finger.
starts, yes, it start not doesn't start here, but the escalation went
Yes,
from like some, earlier this week, some very minor mumblings to this.
yes,
That's insane.
yes. Then he follows up because he's still agitated. He follows up with, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House, and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude." And then Trump posts, "The easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, excuse me, is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it!" Exclamation point. Then the next post, "Elon was, in quotes, wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that no one else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do!" Exclamation point. And he just went, in all caps, crazy.
Yep.
So again, now we're calling the person crazy. We're no one's talking about any of the political stuff, right?
Right.
We are in public just screaming into the void at each other.
The two of them, right? This is not new for either of them.
No, that's right. These are both this is where they like to share their views.
Yes. Yes. They share their views here. I would imagine oftentimes before many other people in their orbits even know what their views are,
Mhm.
everyone does. So people in their orbit probably learn about their views
Yes.
this at the same time that you and I do.
Yes. And
And I
it
think that's the funnier thing. And can you imagine trying to wrangle both of them? Like what
oh,
it must be like to be their PR and press people. I don't know who would say yes to that job. I mean, you have to be a special type of masochist to do that.
yeah. Yes. Yes, a masochist or someone who is super ambitious. You're just like, "I'm gonna suffer for this period of time,"
I
you know?
guess.
So, I mean, so I wanted to talk about, or we want to talk about it because we want to talk about the mechanism behind this sort of behavior. The side quest, or the other thing that's interesting to me about this will be watching how people on the political right and political left
Yeah.
decide how they're going to react to it.
Yeah.
Because what I've seen so far is it's like people hate Musk more than Trump, or vice versa, and so they're switching to go Donald. Like for the first time, people are saying go Donald, or for the first time, people are saying go Musk,
Yes.
because it's like these two people that people on the left don't like, and but they're going to choose sides, and in a strong way.
Yep.
It's interesting to watch that at play.
Right. It's the dissonance, right? And so I mean, I would say Trump has been the focus of ire for Democrats and people on the political left in the US for a decade now.
Hmm. Hmm.
But Elon is a newer member of that group. But now, my guess is that yeah, it goes more the way it probably was before, where yeah, the Democrats go back at Trump, and Elon gets slightly more support from the Democrats as a
You
result
think
of shot being, shooting fire, so to speak, at Trump. That's my guess.
all right, I will take the other side of that bet. Well, the next episode we'll talk about it. I think the left aligns with Trump and not Musk.
No, I can't imagine the political left. I mean, I think Trump could save a baby from a burning building,
Uh-huh.
and no, the political left would find, well, the reason the building is burning is because Trump has slashed all building codes that have allowed this to happen in the first place. Like, I don't think
Uh-huh.
there's any way the political left is going to come to Trump support. I will take that bet all day long.
All right, we'll bet.
All right. All right.
Yeah. All right.
So, but Dave, yeah, why are we talking about this? What's going on? What's the interesting psychological bend here?
So we can't diagnose from afar. Neither you nor I have met Musk or Trump, although
Nope.
they're welcome, by the way, to join the podcast.
Most
Have 'em on.
definitely.
I'm sure this is exactly where they'd like to go.
Uh-huh.
But
I mean, I think Elon would go. I mean, Elon goes to, we're not obscure, of course. But Elon goes to some different places. I bet we could get him on
get
here.
him on.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Uh, they they both display some of the characteristics of people that are narcissists.
Yes.
And those so I'm again not diagnosing, but if you were to go down the list of what makes a narcissist, it would be things like not displaying a lot of empathy, thinking that you're more important than everybody else, having delusions of how valuable you are in the world, constantly comparing yourself to other people and making sure that you rise above other people, taking advantage of other people, those kinds of wanting people to praise you constantly, those kinds of things would fit into the bucket of
Right.
narcissism.
Right.
And I think both those players have displayed those characteristics.
Yes.
Now, somebody who is a narcissist comes across like they are exceptionally confident and exceptionally arrogant. But from a psychological standpoint, we know that the underlying mechanism is deep insecurity.
Hmm.
You don't have a strong sense of self, you don't have a strong ego. In an effort to protect that weak ego, you create this sort of shield or this protective layer, which is your narcissism. I'm going to tell you how much better I am than you because at my core, I'm really worried that I'm not that great.
Yeah. It's almost interesting to see, because what people will observe from folks who are narcissists is that their ego is super strong and huge.
Mhm.
But in actuality, what actually happens there is no, their ego is fragile and insecure.
Mhm. And so what I think's going on here is you have two people who have that fragile ego and it's being touched by the dynamics at play. And this is how you create a narcissistic injury or a narcissistic wound, however you want to describe it.
Yep.
Well, this happens when a narcissist loses something. So, for example, if you are in Musk's shoes and you feel like you've done a lot of work with Doge, and then there's this big bill that comes through, and all of a sudden, what you think you've saved, you've not saved,
Yep.
that would hurt his ego to the core. He was going to say, "Look at how much I saved," and now we can't say that. It's the sense of rejection.
Yep.
Musk was at a time really close, to the seat of power,
Yeah,
and
for
now
like a
he's
year.
lost it, and that's that's a tumble for him, and so he's
Mhm.
going to feel that. And on Trump's side, he's used to Musk, no matter what, telling the world how fantastic he is.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, Musk switches and says that he, by the way, is not that fantastic, and he's signed a stupid bill, and that he is on the Epstein plane, and he's part of the Epstein
Yeah.
list, and that's a very deep personal attack. So you have both these people whose egos have been touched.
Yeah, again, we're not here to, you know, diagnose either of these folks as narcissists, even if they can display some tendencies that align with that. But God, I mean, I would say I don't know if it's true. Like, right, was Trump on the plane and that? But God, if you were to be called out like that, I mean, even a non-narcissist is going to have a pretty strong reaction to that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, true.
that's being called out pretty I mean that's not like a exposing, I mean maybe it is a deep insecurity. Maybe the reason he's on the plane in the first place, if he is Trump,
Mhm.
is because of that deep-seated insecurity.
Mhm.
But I mean that's just more like, oh shit, like there was someone who was in the inner circle
Yes.
and made no
That's
things.
a that's a very
And now
personal
he's blowing
effect.
my shit all over the place.
Yeah. So if you're a it's a good question. Well, what would someone who was psychologically stable do in response to this? Because
What would you do?
I well, I don't know that I'm psychologically stable, so let's just frame it that way. I don't,
Touche.
know. I think let's just say that if you and I got in a fight and you did that, I think that I think immediately call you. I can't imagine choosing to go, I mean, I don't know. If you threw the bomb on Twitter like Musk did, it's hard. It requires some restraint to go and talk to the person over the phone,
Yeah.
right? Musk threw a bomb on Twitter. Trump's going to respond on Twitter. But the psychologically healthy response, the right response for the president of the United States is probably to go talk to Musk one on one and help Musk regulate, right? They shouldn't be having this battle in public. This is an unhinged battle for public consumption. It serves nobody.
We don't know what, of course, what they did before or after this. But one of the things I think that makes like if I try to answer that question for myself, what would I do?
Mhm,
Well, what would I do is based on my current experience, right? Like as a 40-year-old living in St. Louis with 2 kids whose body's falling apart. Um, you know, like what I would do is different than what someone who is in a highly political space. My
uh-huh,
sense of Trump is even before he got into politics, he was hyper aware of his brand and how
mhm,
he came across and what people want from him and what he wants from other people. So he's
mhm,
very hyper aware of politics, both in the sense of government and also just business and organizational politics.
mhm.
That yeah, to me, it's like if I was dealing with someone like him, would that be different? Like I could call him, he's not gonna take my call.
Oh, so you're sort of defending Musk's decision to go to Twitter?
I'm not defending it, but I'm just saying it's difficult. Probably it's difficult for me to figure out. Well, what would I do in that environment?
Mhm,
Like Trump's not going to take my call. No one in his orbit probably is going to want to talk to me.
mhm,
I've probably done a lot to try to influence what's going on anyway,
mhm,
and I'm upset
mhm.
that my influencing and my stature didn't work because the things that I wanted to get through in this bill
Yep,
are not there. So
yep.
I'm not defending what he did. I do think it is it is childish to say at the very least, but I'm trying to think of what else to get to Trump or to get to a politician like Trump. Like how else would you get his attention?
Well, it's an interesting maybe there's no other way to get his attention, but I guess the question is, for what reason are you trying to get his attention?
Yeah, that's
Why
it.
do you why does Musk right, Musk Musk if asked, could articulate in a calm way, "I don't like the bill," and that be it.
Yep.
Or he could go nuclear online like he's doing. The outcome for Musk would be the same as far as this bill. It's not like Trump's gonna see that Musk is pissed on Twitter and go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, let's pull back that bill."
Yeah.
Think about what
Let me
Musk
think
thought.
through this.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't but I think so that's the I guess the point is around narcissism and the narcissistic injury is that they will make decisions and
You're right.
behave in ways that are not controlled or thoughtful when they're in that place. It's like I think about it like when a shark's eyes roll back when they're feeding, like
Yeah.
that you get to a point where you're so defensive that you are now going to just react in a
Yep.
wild way.
Yep.
And I think that's what you see. You have two people here whose eyes have rolled back.
Yep.
And for the world to see, they're going to attack each other for like to no end. It
Yeah. I
serves
mean,
no
it is. I mean, they're raging.
Yes.
And
Yes.
again, I don't follow like some of this as much, but I mean, this is as raging as I would imagine, like, two teenagers who are in a Twitter battle get. It's just
Yeah,
that,
that's
billions of people aren't watching that one.
yeah. This is like yeah, this is what it would be like in high school
Yeah.
if you're on social media with your friend.
Yeah. Like, yeah, this is crazy.
So I guess the question is, I mean, that it's an interesting thing to watch, but the question is, this is funny and fun when it's Musk and Trump,
Right.
and it's not going to impact the bill, and it's not going to impact anybody's. It doesn't have any effect really, besides the drama to watch. But if the narcissist in your life is your mother or your sister or father or brother or boyfriend or whatever, and you have to deal with a narcissist, what do you, I guess the first question is, how do you avoid this kind of a reaction? Should you avoid this kind of reaction? And then how do you deal with it when it happens?
Yeah. I mean, I think the easy response is, well, I mean, this is not the type of reaction I don't think I don't want it. And I don't know many people who would want to be in any type of relationship, romantic, family, friend, otherwise, that would say, "Oh yeah, this is the type of relationship I hope to have with someone in my life."
I think
Um, so
Mhm.
so my initial reaction when I see something like that is, God, I mean, and this is difficult, right? So coming from us, if we were maybe let's start there. I think that's where it's going to be easier for me to respond is if I'm working with someone like that.
Okay.
Because I think it can be slightly easier for you and I to observe that in others than maybe someone else.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
I'm not sure. What do you mean it'd be easier for you and I to observe
Well,
it?
I'm just thinking one of the ideas, so maybe I need to take a step back. One of the ideas that comes to mind is, well, asking someone like, well, this seems like a very strong reaction
Hmm.
to, you know, you getting some feedback at work or to you not getting, first place in this contest or winning this game. What the hell is going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that's my first reaction is just to acknowledge, that the reaction to the
Hmm.
situation
Hmm.
is crazy. Is an over response to the situation itself.
Well, okay. So, well, can we The so it sounds like your strategy in we're talking now about if it's a family member or someone that you're working
Yep.
closely with or whatever, and they're having an outsized reaction like this, your strategy is essentially to rationalize with them, like
That's what I'd like to do.
to remove the emotion and say like, well, what's actually happening, and is your response right now reasonable given what happened?
That's what the rational side of me having this conversation with you would say.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd have my faculties about me in reality as a person. If I got
Hmm.
a big response to something like that, I might say in a less psychologically minded way, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
slow down.
I think it's a very difficult thing, like to figure out what's the right way to respond to it. Because if I were a therapist or a coach and somebody came into my office and said, "Hey, last if Musk came into my office and said, "Hey, last week I got in a fight with an old coworker," and I told the world that he was, a good
Implicated in a
on
sex
the
scandal. Yeah.
in reaction, I accused him of abusing young women. Um, I would say, "Well, what were you feeling? And is that response is your response reasonable given what happened?"
Yeah.
What I would try to get them to do is I'd try to get them to step away from to depersonalize what happened and look analytically at the series of events,
Yep.
right? But that's really easy to do if you're a coach or a therapist.
Yes.
There's no energy around it and it's not directed at you.
Nope.
And the person is going to be much more receptive to your comment. If I'm
Mhm.
talking to Musk and saying, I don't know if it served you to attack your old coworker, he's going to be much more responsive to that than if Trump said, "This isn't serving you."
Yeah.
You know?
I I think that's what I was inarticulately trying to convey a couple minutes ago is, well, like, is it someone in our role? Like, are we,
Yeah.
being us, are we coaching or working with someone who then says that I was part of this interaction?
Mhm.
Or is it just me in my life and
Mhm.
I encounter someone like this? I'd
Mhm.
like to think that I would, slow down, be the brakes.
Mhm. Mhm.
But particularly if it's someone in my life that I experience this routinely, I'm probably pretty worn out.
Yeah. Yes, I think so.
And so my reaction there is you have to set some boundaries when you're interacting with someone like that.
I think you're 100% right. I think there's like 2 pieces of it. One is, what do you do in the moment where you're having the conflict?
Yeah.
And then what do you do after the conflict? And I think the first part is in the middle of the conflict, you have to not react to it. Like, you adding Trump going back at Musk and saying, "No one likes your stupid EV cars and you freaked out, you're crazy." Calling I would tell you, calling somebody crazy very rarely is an effective strategy in
You don't say.
I've
I
never
I
seen it work.
I've had so much success with that. Yes.
So we don't do like that's so by Trump lashing out like that doesn't serve him.
No.
So if you're fighting with your mom or whatever, you don't want to lash back out and attack them. But what you want to do is say something like, "I'm not willing to have this conversation
Mm-mm.
like this. If you treat me like this, I'm not going to engage in the conversation."
Nope.
At the boundary.
Yep.
And then I would argue, and then leave, right? You're
Yep.
not going to participate if that's how you're going to be treated.
Mhm. So, yeah, I think that's it, and then that's a boundary you'll probably have to reinforce a lot if this is someone in your life,
Hmm.
that you interact with routinely,
Hmm.
um, and hopefully, yeah, over time, the person, even if they can't necessarily control it initially, they come to understand, "Alright, well, Dave's not playing around. He's told me 15 times over the past 2 years that when I, light him up on Twitter, he's not gonna respond, he's not gonna talk to me."
Hmm. Hmm.
And then he follows through.
Yep. Yep. And
So,
it's
I
yeah.
need to know that my action is going to have a reaction that I may not like. This assumes that I don't want to piss you off or to excise you from my life.
And for the person that is uh, reacting irrationally, it is like it's a maladaptive behavior. But the reason why they do it is it's cathartic. It feels
Yep.
good to say those things, and it feels good to hurt the other person. So if I say something really egregious, like you're on Epstein's list, I mean, hopefully it's egregious, but if I say something,
Yeah.
whatever, by attacking Trump that way, Musk, I mean, did you see how he signed it off? Have a good day,
Yeah.
J.
Yeah.
Trump.
DJT. Yeah.
It's a gotcha. Now you're going to suffer. And
Yeah.
that feels good for Musk. If Trump
Yeah.
would not respond, it wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't
No.
feel good to Musk, and that behavior would go away because it's not serving. He's injured as that narcissistic injury exists, but he's not getting that need met by hurting Trump.
Right. Because it's almost like there's I've heard it described before as like narcissists, they need their like it's like a balloon inside, right? And they constantly need it to be inflated.
Mhm.
And when something like this happens, it's quickly deflating and then therefore disorienting. And so they need to do something to inflate that balloon again. If the balloon is like their ego or something in this metaphor. And so what you're talking about is that inflates the balloon and then Trump's response inflates it even more
Yes.
because again it makes them feel better. It like rounds them out a little bit
Yes.
more.
Yes, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
But if you don't get that reaction, then it's like quick quick deflation. You're like, "Uh-oh, well, I don't feel any better now.
Yep.
So what am I going to do next?"
Mhm. And the solution is not gonna be to keep attacking you because it doesn't work. I'm not getting my balloon inflated that
Right.
way.
Well, it could. Maybe I just I ramp it up for a while, right? And maybe I just poke you until I get a reaction and I just increase what I'm poking you with. But
Mhm. Mhm.
um yeah, hopefully if you find that you're not going to get the reaction, then you're going to realize, well, I'm not getting my need met there.
Mhm. Mhm.
So what else do I do? So that's why I think the boundaries in a personal relationship like that can be helpful.
Mhm. So in the moment, set a boundary, don't engage. And then when the emotion goes away, there's a concept that I learned it for group therapy, which was called the self-reflective loop,
Hmm.
which is, you're doing group therapy and invariably there's going to be some kind of conflict between people and you have this big blow up. When there's this big blow up and everybody's yelling, people are yelling at each other and somebody's crying and feelings are hurt, it's very difficult to process what's happened.
Yeah.
But you do want to come back later after the emotions have subsided and say, "Hey, what happened here? the last time
Mm,
we met? How are we
yep,
feeling about that? And it's the same thing in marriage counseling. It's the same thing at conflict in at work. When you have a blow up or some kind of experience that feels really uncomfortable in the moment, hard to process it. You're not going to be able to
yep,
stop someone and say, "Hey, right now you're being a little crazy. Can we let's process what's going on with you?" It's better to disengage, but make sure you come back after and say, "Hey, that was a very painful conversation. What happened? Why were
yeah,
you upset? What did I say? What could I do differently?" And then you can have a thoughtful discussion between the two of you.
yeah. I mean, again, that's a healthy way to address it,
Yes.
assuming that the person who blows up is willing to have that conversation, A, and
Mhm.
then acknowledge. I that's what I don't that is probably inconsistent is the narcissist who experiences this injury willing to acknowledge that they fucked up.
I don't think they have so this is a good think about this conflict between the two of them. Trump went on the internet and said, "Your cars suck and you suck and you're
Yeah.
crazy." Do you think that if Trump came back to Musk next week and said, "I value you. I want to have a discussion around how you and I work together.
Right.
I don't want to have this kind of a relationship." Do you
Yep.
think that Musk would listen to him?
I mean, I don't know. Probably not.
I think he would. You think he would not?
I don't think so.
Why
I
not?
mean, well, I guess it depends. Is he coming back in this situation because Trump is going to give Musk what he wants, or is he just coming back to repair a relationship?
To repair a relationship.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's interesting. I think he would. Well, so, I guess I would say it this way is certainly if it's a colleague or coworker or a family member, this is the best option to go back
Sure.
because you have to work together, so they don't have the ability Trump and
Correct.
Musk have the ability to bail and never talk to each other again.
And I think that's the difference, of course, right? We go back to Trump and Musk, but in reality,
Mhm,
with someone you have a different type of relationship with, that's not just beneficial for a time or has an expiration date like a lot of political relationships have.
mhm,
I do agree with you that that is the right solution,
mhm,
and you may get people who are willing to bite that bait and say, "Yeah,
mhm,
it's worthwhile for me to not completely destroy this relationship because of my initial strong reaction to what
mhm,
happened."
mhm,
At the same time, I think if you're routinely interacting with someone, there is likely some help, support, some just recurring thought you have to have in your head of, "Hey, this is not about me. It feels like it's about me. It feels like this person's reacting at me,
mhm,
but some resilience training around this is not my thing, it's their thing.
mhm.
And I can't personalize it or else the relationship is going to go to shit."
So I think that's like the next phase of this conversation, right? So
Yeah.
the if you think about someone who's blown up, how do you deal with it in the moment? Set a boundary,
Yep.
don't engage. When the emotion subsides, do the self-reflective loop, go back and help someone reflect after it happened.
Mhm.
Partner with them to figure out how the two of you can avoid that again.
Yep.
That's when the blowups happened. But what about when you're just interacting with somebody who has these narcissistic traits? How do you engage with them when you disagree on something?
Yeah.
I think the first step is what you just said, which is you have to depersonalize all of the interactions. If
Yep.
you walk into the engagement with a narcissist and you're sensitive, like the attacks are about you, you're going to
Yep.
unravel
Yep.
immediately.
Quickly,
So I think the first thing you sort of have to do is go like, okay, this has nothing to do with me.
which is difficult to do.
Yes.
I would say even, very, folks who are not super sensitive, if it's just a one-on-one interaction, it can feel very much about me. And
Hmm.
it does take more of that rational, objective reaction to understand, all right, no, it's not.
Hmm.
I've seen this before.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm thinking that if I were to talk to, I think anybody I know that lives with or works around someone that they think is a narcissist,
Mhm.
the preferred strategy for dealing with the narcissist is to hold them accountable.
Yep.
That's what we all want to do. And so, like, if I think about, like, well, what would you want to do if you're going to interview this person? It's like, well, I'd want to hold their feet to the fire. I want to see them freak out, and I want to
Yep.
prove to them that they're wrong and that they're an asshole. But if you think about it, like, the narcissist has this balloon and there's a thin veil protecting that balloon, holding their feet to their, you're just lighting that balloon on fire is not going to
Yep.
work.
Nope.
Right. So it's like, to me, the end point is, well, how do you have a conversation with them without deflating the balloon? Well, I guess
Right.
that's a question for you, like, Rob. Do you think the goal should be to navigate the relationship while keeping the balloon inflated?
Well, again, my assumption here is that you want to keep a relationship with this person, so it's worth your while. It's worth your effort to do something here.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, I mean, you're not going to complete. I think if I mean, we're talking about a narcissist being inflated, but if anyone's really inflamed,
Hmm.
even if they may more likely to, they may get inflamed more frequently.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but if I just think about people in general, having a conversation, trying to tell someone about themselves in the moment and fix it is unlikely to be very helpful.
Yep.
And so, setting the boundary and then later de-escalating it
Hmm.
is, in general, the one-two punch I'd imagine I would provide to anyone who I was working with who was interacting with someone like this.
So
Does
you,
that make
so you,
sense?
yeah. So I'm going to say it back to you and make sure I have it right. So the first thing is that you're going to not take it personally.
Right. Yes.
You're
I did
you're
say
gonna
that.
you're gonna engage with them, and if they push back on you, you're gonna decide where your boundary is.
Yep.
Like, with a narcissist, they're gonna push back in a way that you maybe don't like, but push back if I have it wrong. So it's not that you're gonna put a boundary everywhere.
No.
You may acquiesce in some ways, but there's a certain
Sure.
line for you where you're like, "Look, you're not gonna treat me this way, or I'm not gonna
Right.
put with that. This is my personal boundary."
Right. I'm willing to acknowledge that, you're going to be unhappy with what I'm saying if I have to give you
Mhm,
some negative feedback. What I'm not willing to accept is you're yelling and screaming and throwing shit all over this room.
mhm,
So because that's happened, I'm out.
mhm, mhm.
And when you're ready, maybe tomorrow we'll have another discussion here.
Yeah,
But I'm not dealing with this right now because this is not a way that this is not the type of interaction that I'm willing to have.
yeah, yeah. And I think that first of all, I think that's fantastic advice, and the only thing I would add to it is to say, if you're engaging with someone who can be that kind of reactive like that, decide in advance what the boundary
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So
I
you're
like
gonna
that
go into
idea.
this conversation and walk yourself through what are the different ways that this could go.
Hmm.
They're gonna attack you personally, they're gonna make fun of your whatever, your work, they're
Yep.
gonna diminish your work, whatever it is, and decide, if they diminish my work, I'm gonna do this. If they yell at me, I'm gonna do this. If they go silent, I'm gonna do that. Be prepared with a strategy
Yeah.
or whatever that potential reaction will be, so that you're not in the moment emotionally trying to figure out how you want to respond. Because
Yeah.
if you're responding in the moment with emotion, you're going to flip them the bird, right? Like that, you're going to escalate to that.
Yes. And I think that is all correct. I think that's the right advice.
It
At the
reminds
same
Sorry,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was going to tell you an anecdotal story. One of my very first, like, executive coaching clients was, I would say, a leader on a large project, and the finance person was never ready with the numbers when they had like a weekly meeting to talk
Yep.
about numbers. And he would go, my client would go in every week, and the finance person would never be ready. And his reaction to it was to just scream and pound on the table.
Ooh.
And he was always like, I didn't want to pound on the table. I don't need to do it, but this guy's never ready. And then I just lose my mind.
Yeah.
And the solution was, we'll create a strategy. What do you want to do the next time the finance guy shows up
Yep.
ready? And then the better reaction was, I'm going to just close the meeting and say, we're not right. If we're not ready to talk about it, we're going to close the meeting. And all these people who are here are going to be pissed at you because I just ended the meeting early,
Yep. And
and
we
you
didn't get what we needed to get
didn't get
done.
anything
Yeah.
done. We got to come back tomorrow to talk about
Yeah.
it again. Much more thoughtful response. And he just needed a moment to plan for that versus trying to deal with it in the moment when he feels like this person's not
Yeah.
what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. I think that's great advice.
Sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, one of the things I think about in this situation though is especially if you're interacting with a narcissist more routinely. I mentioned the word resilience before, but there's also this just like this sense that you have to be the bigger person when you're interacting with someone like this. Like you're putting the boundaries there. You're letting people know what is and what is not appropriate reaction or behavior. You're the one who has to depersonalize
Mhm.
all of this. And
Mhm.
that's a lot of emotional work.
Yes.
And I've talked to people before um who experience, folks like this, folks like who have narcissistic tendencies. And that's very often something we end up talking about is I'm just worn out.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to be the bigger person all the time? Why
Mhm.
can't I cry and scream and throw shit everywhere?
Mhm.
Because that would be very cathartic.
Yeah.
And so I guess I mean, have you had similar conversations with folks when that happens?
And I'll tell you, like, how I frame it. I mean,
Yeah.
I empathize with the position. I think the position, I mean, it is exhausting to have to be the person that's having
Hmm.
to do that. The way I always think about it, though, is that if you are the person who is deciding intentionally how to respond to somebody, you're the one that's in power. You're deciding whether or not you're gonna let this person lose their
Yeah.
mind. You're deciding whether or not this meeting's gonna go well. You are controlling and maneuvering and manipulating the other person's you're in a very powerful position.
I
Even though
like
it
that.
feels
I
like
like that.
you're not, but you're really
Yeah.
you could if I you know, I think about, like, if I was coaching up Donald Trump, I would say, "Hey, you have the choice. You can decide, do you want Musk to go unhinged or not?
Yeah.
How you tweet decides that. You're in power."
Right. Right.
I think I know
I
how
think that's a good reaction. I like that.
yeah, I think I know
I
how
like
he'd
that.
respond to it, which would be like, "Yeah, light him on fire."
But yeah, you're right. That is a good way to reframe it. Is yeah, and that feels better. I think
Yeah,
it does. It's a positive reaction or emotion if you frame it up that way.
yeah, yeah.
Well, Dave, I think we covered it. Did we miss anything?
No, I think that that's good. I am waiting with bated breath to see what happens next week, and
I
we'll revisit our bet. So
Yes,
you think people side behind you think the left this is interesting. Okay, so you think the left will side with Musk.
yes.
I think they side with Trump, and I think that the right sides with Musk.
I can't imagine a world where the left ever sides with Trump.
I think s I think
And
they
what
hate
world would that be?
more.
I mean, maybe against. I don't even know who against. I mean, he is the ultimate like American liberal villain currently.
Yes.
So I mean,
More
there's no
than
one else even close.
more than Trump or more than Musk?
No, I'm saying Trump is the ultimate liberal villain. I
I know
think
I
people
think Trump's
got pissed at Musk because he was like a turncoat, right? He
yeah,
was a bit more on the liberal side, and then he started to get into Trump's orbit. So people were upset.
uh-huh.
They were taken aback by it. They were surprised. But I think when pitting the two against each other
We'll have to
is
see.
very easy. Yeah, I think
I
you're
think
you're
because
so wrong.
no, because Musk is consistent, save money. Trump, which is aligns with the conservatives. Trump is wanting to spend more money, which aligns with the left. That's where I think
No, no.
they're gonna switch.
That's
All right,
not
well,
how
we'll see.
that's not
We'll
how
come
people actually make decisions. Yes, we'll see. I can't wait to gloat
okay, I'm looking
about
forward to
how
it.
right I was or am when we speak next.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
Later, everyone. If you want to hear more of us, you can find us on social media at Shrink Space Show. Also, continue to share emails with us at shrinkspaceshow@gmail.com. See you later, everyone.